Welcome to class PM. The previous class we have studied various plant tissues. Unlike plants, even animals also have various tissues which will help to carry out various metabolic activities. See, we know that animals keep moving around in search of food, right? So when they have to move around in search of food, what do they use to do? Which part of the body they use? Definitely, they use their limbs to walk around. And to walk around in search of food, the limb muscles which are present, they have to contract and relax. Even in case of us also, you see that if I have to walk from here to there, I have to see the contraction and my relaxation of my muscles is more important. At the same time, if you have to listen to this class, definitely the nervous tissue which is present, that should coordinate with your brain so that you can listen to my class. Right? In the same way, there are different things which happen in animal body, right? Unlike plant body, there are also different activities which take up in animal body. So, this class, let us learn about the various animal tissues present. Let us discuss about these animal tissues. So, on the basis of the function they perform, animal tissues are broadly classified into various types like epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue and connective tissue. So, there are different types of animal tissues such as epithelial, nervous, connective and muscular tissue. Right. So, let us learn about each of these tissues in detail. So, first let us start with the first type of animal tissue which is said to be epithelial tissue. So, when you say epithelial tissue, the name itself indicates epi means upon. So, these epithelial tissues which are present, these are simple kind of animal tissues which act as a protective covering. So, in Greek language, epi means upon. So, this epithelial tissue forms a outer covering or outer layer of covering. Forms outer layer of covering. It forms an outer layer of covering in case of animals. And at the same time, you see that the cells which are present in the epithelial tissue, cells are closely packed with little intercellular spaces. They don't have large intercellular spaces. They are provided with very little intercellular spaces. So, when you talk about this epithelial tissue, as discussed or as told, in Greek language, epi means upon. That means this tissue which is present, it is present upon the surface of the skin. It acts as a protective coating around the various internal organs, along with it also forms the surface of the skin over your mouth, alimentary canal, right? And the cells which are present inside this tissue, we know that tissue is nothing but a group of cells or cluster of cells. So, the cells which are present in this tissue are usually packed with little intercellular spaces. That means they have very, very, very small intercellular spaces present in between these cells. So, when you look at the epithelial tissue, when you look at the functions of these epithelial tissue, let me write down the functions. So, as we talk about these epithelial tissue, as I've told you, let us look at the functions of epithelial tissue. They form the inner lining of mouth, the inner lining of your mouth, alimentary canal. I hope you all know what is alimentary canal. It is a part of digestive system which starts from your mouth and ends at anus. A long tube which begins in your mouth and ends with anus, that is said to be alimentary canal. So, the muscular part of this alimentary canal is lined up with epithelial tissue and other internal organs. So, you have so many organs in your body, say like heart, your brain, your kidneys, your liver, pancreas, stomach, right? So, there are many organs in the body. All these organs, visceral organs you can say, all these organs are lined up with epithelial tissue, or you can say they are covered by epithelial tissue, because of which only we say that epithelial tissue is a protective tissue because it protects the major internal organs. And the lining of this, the epithelial lining which is present over the intestine, will help in absorption of water and digested food. We know that the food gets digested in our stomach, right? Intestine. So the intestinal wall has epithelial tissue, a lining of epithelial tissue which will help the intestine to absorb the water and digested food. Apart from that, it also helps in elimination of nitrogenous products from the body along with other waste. And the lining of these epithelium, or the epithelial tissue lining, which is present over various glands. You have various glands like gastric glands, you have mucus glands. You know, the mucus glands which are present around the walls of the stomach, they produce mucus so that the HCl which is produced during the process of digestion gets alkaline, or it will become diluted. So this valuable secretion such as mucus and the gastric juices, all these glands from which they are produced, all these glands are lined up with epithelium. So these are the common functions of epithelial tissue. Now this epithelial tissue which is present, it is broadly classified into various other tissues based on the shape of the cell and functions. This epithelial tissue is broadly classified into various tissues. The first is squamous epithelium. So first let us learn about squamous epithelium. See, this epithelial tissue which is present based on the arrangement of the cells, this is classified into various types of epithelial tissue. The first epithelial tissue you are going to learn is squamous epithelial tissue. First let us learn about the first type of epithelium, that is squamous epithelium. So the squamous epithelium possesses thin, flat, irregular shaped cells. Thin, flat, irregular shaped cells. And you see, this is how the shape of the cells look when you observe it under microscope. So these are actually called as pavement epithelium. This squamous epithelium is also called as pavement epithelium because the cells are arranged and they look as if they resemble tiles of a floor, right? You know how the tiles are arranged over a floor, right? So this arrangement of the cells in case of the squamous epithelium is similar to that. That's the reason this is also called as pavement epithelium. And you see that the simple squamous epithelium which is present, that has only one layer of cells, but there are few epithelial cells of skin which are arranged. The skin of the animal tissue are arranged over many layers so that it can prevent the wear and tear of the body. So such a epithelial cells are called as stratified epithelium. What is it called? Stratified epithelium. So these they occur usually. Let us see the occurrence of these stratified and simple epithelium. Simple epithelium is nothing but they have only one layer of cells which are present, right? And they usually form the lines of the blood vessels. That means they line up the blood vessels, urinary tubules and alveoli. You know what alveoli are? Alveoli are the air sacs which are present in the lungs, right? And when you talk about stratified epithelium, as I've told you, the stratified epithelium will have a pile of cells which are arranged one over the other, right? And these usually, they line up your buccal cavity. Buccal cavity in this sense, the space which is present in your mouth is said to be buccal cavity. And esophagus, you know, the food pipe, right? And the lower parts of urethra. Urethra is nothing but lower part of your excretory system, right? Through which the urine is expelled out, right? So they form the lining, lower parts of the urethra. And when you look at these squamous epithelium, you have seen there are two different types of epithelium. Now generally the function of these epitheliums, when you talk about the squamous epithelium function in general, the general function is to protect the internal organs, right, underlying organs, and they also prevent the entry of germs or chemicals into the body of an animal, because they have piled up in so many layers that if something has to enter into the body through the skin, they cannot, because there are so many layers of the cells which are arranged which protect the body from entry of germs or chemicals. And it will also help in gaseous exchange. Yes, because in case of few animals, we know that they breathe through their skin, right? So the gaseous exchange can be done because of these cells which are present in the epithelium, and they also help in excretion. Yes, in case of few animals like earthworm, they excrete the waste through their body surface, right? So we know that the body surface has a lining of epithelial tissue, and that is nothing but the squamous epithelium. Now, let us look at the next type of epithelial tissue, cuboidal epithelial. When you talk about the structure of these epithelium, the name itself is indicating cuboidal epithelium. That means the cells are cube-like cells are present, cube-like cells are present, which are as tall as wide. Which are as tall as wide. You can say when you look at a section of this cuboidal epithelium, they seem to be as if they are the square structures. Square structures. They appear to be a structure of a square. The cells, right? When you look at this cuboidal epithelium, they seem to be like this. Look at it under microscope, you see the structure of the cells are cube-like structures, and when you look at the front view, they seem to be square-shaped cells. Square-shaped cells, and the outline of these cells seems to be polygonal or square, right? Now, when you talk about the occurrence, this is the structure. Now, let us see where are these seen, or where do they occur. So, when you talk about these occurrence, they are usually present in the lines, the small salivary ducts. That means they are found on the small salivary ducts, your sweat glands. So, when you look at this cuboidal epithelium, as I've told you, the structure of these cuboidal epithelium, the cells look like cube-like cells. They look like cube-like cells, and they are as tall as they are wide. Okay, you can see the width and length of these cells are almost equal, right? And when you talk about the occurrence, the lines, this will line up the small salivary ducts which are present in the gland, your sweat glands, your thyroid glands, and they also cover the ovaries, And when you talk about the function of these cuboidal epithelium, you see that they help in the protection. That means as they are lining up the organs, definitely they protect the organs, right? And at the same time, they help in secretions. So, we know that thyroid gland which is present, it will secrete a hormone which is said to be thyroxine. So, these secretions are also done. That means they help in the secretion, flow of these secretions into the bloodstream. They also help in absorption, excretion, and gamete formation. You know what gametes are, right? These are the reproductive cells which are present in animals, say like sperm cells and egg cells. So, they also help in the formation of these gametes. So, this is all about cuboidal epithelium. So, next let us learn about the next type of epithelium which is said to be columnar epithelium. Let us learn about the next type of epithelium known as columnar epithelium. When you talk about the structure of this columnar epithelium, the name itself is indicating that they are tall pillar-like cells. So, when you look at this columnar epithelium, when you talk about the structure, you can generally see the structure of these cells is different from cuboidal. They are tall pillar-like structures which have elongated nucleus. You can see the long nucleus, the stretched nucleus which is present inside these cells, right? And these, when you look at the occurrence of these columnar epithelium, usually they line up the stomach, intestine and the gallbladder. And the functions are, generally they also have a common function just like your cuboidal epithelium, like protection, absorption and secretion. Apart from that, they are specialized. These cells are specialized to absorb the digested food and water. So, this is all about your columnar epithelium. Next, let us do the next type of epithelium which is said to be ciliated epithelium. So, these ciliated epithelium which are present, usually they consist cells which are actually cuboidal or columnar like, and they bear cilia. Cuboidal or columnar cells with cilia are present. Cilia, you know, like in case of paramecium, they have small hair-like structures which are present, which are said to be cilia, right? This help in the locomotion, and you see that usually when you look at the structure of these ciliated cells. So, when you talk about the ciliated epithelium, the ciliated epithelium has a structure which have cuboidal or columnar, and you see that they have their elongated cells where they end up with cilia, hair-like structures, right? These hair-like structures which are present, they help in locomotion. Now, let us see where are they seen. The occurrence of these epithelium is usually found in kidneys, sperms, nasal passage and your brain. And the function is entirely different when compared to the rest three which you have learned, right? This will help in the movement of urine from the urethra. Okay, because I've told you that the cilia which is present will help in movement. So, movement of urine, the mucus which is formed, the sperms, you know that sperm is motile, it can move, right? It can float or swim freely in body, right? So, the sperms and cerebrospinal fluid. You know what is cerebrospinal fluid? Yes, I'll tell you. Our brain is protected inside a bony box which is said to be cranium. It is covered by three membranes. Brain is covered by three membranes called inner membrane, outer membrane and mid membrane or middle membrane. So that is dura, outer and arachnoid membranes. These membranes, there is a fluid which is circulating through these membranes, okay, which will all the time keep circulating around these membranes, which will protect the brain from injuries and shocks, and that fluid is said to be cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid. So the movement of these fluid is because of these ciliated epithelium. Ciliated epithelium. So these are the functions of ciliated epithelium in animal body. Right. Next, the last but not the least, we'll learn about the glandular epithelium. So when you talk about the structure of this, the next type of epithelium which you are going to learn is glandular. So the structure of these glandular epithelium is, you can see they are tall columnar cells which are provided with the nucleus, and usually they line up the organs such as gastric glands, your pancreas, right, and intestinal glands. Like, you know what are the intestinal glands, right? They actually line up these pancreatic lobes or gastric glands, and this glandular epithelium will always help in the secretion of these mucus and everything. So this is all about the epithelial tissue in case of animals.